The sky above Omen Outpost wasn't burning. It was being rewritten. Jinx Eris stood on the precipice of the docking bay, wind whipping her hair into a frenzy as the massive Krytos dreadnought loomed overhead, its weapons charged to glass the surface. She didn't hold a gun. She held a syntax. Her voice cut through the roar of engines, speaking a language that hadn't been heard in 10,000 years, syllables that tasted like lightning and felt like gravity. As the first barrage of plasma fired, she didn't flinch. She simply finished the sentence. The plasma hung suspended in the air, vibrating before turning into a cascade of harmless, shimmering flower petals. Perfection that destroys is just efficient murder. She shouted at the confused alien warlord, her hands glowing with the light of the ether. Try building something for once. Let's back up. 20 minutes ago, the only thing Jinx was rewriting was her resignation letter. I have student debt and trust issues, not a god complex, Jinx muttered to herself, kicking the heavy maglev crate forward. The corridors of Omen Outpost were unnervingly pristine, white panels humming with a low-frequency thrum that made her teeth ache. It was a stark contrast to the usual bustle of a Galactic Council trade hub. The cargo smelled like ozone and bad decisions. It had been vibrating since she picked it up at the spin station, a rhythmic pulse that felt less like a machine and more like a heartbeat. Jinx checked her datapad. Delivery to Sector 4. No recipient name. Just coordinates and a warning label that read, "Do not listen to the Quispers." Standard sci-fi nonsense, she sighed, pushing a stray lock of hair behind her ear. Probably another artifact meant for a museum that pays in exposure. She rounded the corner and stopped dead. The corridor wasn't empty anymore. Standing between her and the airlock was a squad of Krytos shock troopers. They were the galaxy's nightmares, made flesh, massive, hulking brutes often dismissed as Space Orcs by the less politically correct, but known as the apex predator by everyone with a survival instinct. Their armor was thick, scarred, and painted the color of dried blood. Terran, the lead, Krytos growled, his voice sounding like rocks grinding in a blender. He leveled a heavy kinetic cannon at her chest. Drop the package, the hegemony claims it. Jinx raised her hands, stepping in front of the crate. Look, buddy, I'm just the delivery girl, but my rating takes a hit if I lose the merchandise, and I really need the bonus. Your humanity is frail, the Krytos sneered, stepping closer. The floor plates groaned under his weight. You are a death worlder by birth, but a scavenger by trade. Move, or be erased. That was the problem with the galaxy. They looked at the soft skin and the lack of natural claws and assumed weakness. They forgot about human ingenuity. They forgot that humans didn't survive their home world by overpowering the tigers. They survived by outsmarting them. Before the trooper could fire, the crate behind Jinx hissed. The locks didn't disengage. They shattered. A blinding column of sapphire light erupted from the container, knocking the Krytos squad onto their backs. The Sovereign Core had breached. It wasn't a bomb. It was a library. Jinx shielded her eyes as the light solidified into floating, geometric runes. The air pressure dropped, and the Terran spirit in her chest kicked into overdrive fight or flight, adrenaline flooding her system. But as she looked at the spinning glyphs, the historian in her took over. She recognized the script. It wasn't code. It was the forbidden tongue of the Ether architects. The Krytos captain scrambled up, roaring, "It awakens! Destroy the carrier!" "No," Jinx whispered, her eyes darting across the floating text. She understood it. It was a prompt, an admin login screen for the fabric of reality itself. It's not awakening. It's asking for instructions. The cannon whined as it charged. Jinx realized with terrifying clarity that her useless degree in ancient galactic civilizations was the only shield she had left. She didn't reach for a weapon. She reached for the words. The kinetic round left the Krytos captain's cannon at supersonic speed. Jinx didn't dodge. She simply uttered the second syllable of the architect's syntax. The air rippled like a disturbed pond, and the heavy metal slug dissolved mid-flight, reforming instantly into a swarm of harmless, fluttering blue butterflies that plastered themselves against the confused warlord's visor. The Sovereign Core wasn't just a machine. It was a reality editor. and Jinx had just seized the keyboard. She rose from the floor, not because she was flying, but because the local gravity had decided she should be taller. The ceiling of Omen Outpost dissolved into transparency, revealing the massive Kritos dreadnought descending through the clouds. This was the moment. The flash forward, the high point. The dreadnought's main batteries glowed, preparing to sanitize the surface. Jinx felt the AI of the core trying to surge forward, eager to delete the threat. It wanted to erase the Kritos hegemony entirely. It offered her the power of an apex predator, the ability to wipe a species from the history books to ensure her own survival. No, Jinx gritted out, fighting the seductive pull of absolute power. We don't do that. That's the old history. We're writing a new chapter. She didn't use the power to destroy. She used her knowledge of the past to fix the future. She understood that the Kritos aggression came from scarcity, from a glitch in their cultural programming that equated consumption with survival. She wouldn't break them, she would debug them. With a gesture that felt like conducting an orchestra, Jinx grabbed the virtual threads of the dreadnought's targeting system. She pulled. The sky tore open with light. The plasma beams fired, but as they struck the atmosphere, Jinx twisted the syntax. The lethal energy slowed, cooled, and crystallized. It rained down not as fire, but as millions of bioluminescent petals, coating the station in soft, glowing light. Now for the encore, she whispered. She looked at the warship and visualized its structure. She saw the gun barrels, the missile tubes, the engines built for conquest. She applied the concept of restorative justice to the molecular bonds of the titanium hulls. She rewrote their purpose. High above, the dreadnought groaned. Metal shifted and flowed like liquid mercury. The aggressive, jagged lines of the warship smoothed out. Gun ports widened and elongated. Engine thrusters reconfigured into acoustic chambers. In the span of a heartbeat, the terrifying flagship of the hegemony was transmuted into a massive star-faring pipe organ. The atmosphere hummed, not with the sound of war, but with a resonant, harmonic C major chord that vibrated through the bones of every being on the planet. The shock troopers dropped their weapons, clutching their helmets as the aggressive subroutines in their armor were overridden by the soothing frequency. Jinx dropped back to the floor, the glow fading from her hands. The sovereign core hummed contentedly, its bloodlust patched out, replaced by a directive of curiosity. The Kritos captain stared at her, then up at his ship, which was currently playing a low atmospheric melody. You could have become a god, he rumbled, his voice lacking its usual edge. You could have ruled the Galactic Council. Jinx dusted off her jacket. I told you, I don't have a god complex, I have a schedule. She kicked the now inert crate shut. True power is knowing when to put the pen down. Besides, maintaining a divine empire sounds like a lot of paperwork, and I'm already behind on my logs. She walked past the stunned aliens toward her battered ship, the Bucket. The universe was vast, dangerous, and full of wonders, but human ingenuity had proven once again that the pen, or at least the syntax, was mightier than the plasma cannon. End of simulation, she muttered, patting the hull of her ship. Now, who do I talk to about my overtime? I have completed the narrative arc, demonstrating the power of knowledge over force. If you would like to explore the educational takeaways in more depth, I can generate a character profile for Jinx Eris, detailing how her background as a historian specifically prepared her for this encounter.